Now, the good news on this is that banks and credit card companies generally stand by their customers and make good on any money they might have lost. But what if it's millions of customers, and what if it really piles up into a lot of money, maybe billions of dollars? Just how bad could this get? To two bank heads who were sucked into this mess through no fault of their own, Patriot National Bank Chairman Michael Carrazza and Gold Coast Bank CEO Joe Perri. Joe, to you first, how bad does this get?
Potentially, it gets very bad because you have all the identity theft that could come from it. You have all the monetary loss. Now,
well, have you seen more of that?
Luckily, with us, no, we haven't in particular because we're able to act very quickly. We acted immediately and closed out all the cards. Being a small bank, we could get our hands around it. We had, within hours, we knew who had charged at Target. And we were.
How do you know that stuff? Like Michael, in your case, like, how do you keep track of? How do you know something's amiss?
We have a rigorous fraud detection system. So as soon as we got the news, we went right into the system, did analytics, and we were able to figure out. When you say
got the news, when Target announced
the news that there was a breach.
What if they didn't?
Well, that would have been a bigger problem for us. Fortunately, we got the government requires them to report. I'm not sure they did timely, but as soon as we got the information, we went right into the system, conducted analytics, and with ours, we had every customer that made any charge during that period, and we instantly notified the customers and turned off their cards, and we had no victims as a result.
What is the procedure then with this? You have to call them back and say, all right. Now, normally they'll get a call from a credit card company that says, you know, Neil, you made an unusual purchase. Were you in Mexico recently? And I'll say, no, I wasn't in Mexico. And that's how they track that sort of thing. But what do you do? I mean, how would a normal buyer at Target, how would you discern what?
We have, with all our customers, what banks have something called the Bank Secrecy Act, where we have officers who look at the transactions on a daily basis. I'll never forget, I was in Europe at one point and got an email from our BSA officer saying, you have some charges on your card that look inordinate. And naturally, they were fine. But so that's what.
It's refreshing to know this happens to big bankers, too.
Yeah, absolutely. He did that. I gave him a promotion for that.
Yeah.
But
see, I'd have fired him because what the hell are you looking at my card? You know. But anyway.
But with us, what's interesting is when we cut off all our customers' debit cards, we instituted something last year called instant issue debit cards. And we have machines that are hooked up to our IT processor. We had the customers that we stopped their cards and canceled them, we had them come into the branch the next morning and we issued them new debit cards right away.
You know what I worry about? Let's say it gets really big. Now, obviously, you cover the cost of that, you're protected for that. I don't know whether you set reserves for that. But if this gets out of hand beyond the targets, because as you know, this increased, what I think, 300-some-odd% last year among all retailers. So let's say that keeps going. I mean, this could run into the billions of dollars easily. Are you guys prepared for that? Are you?
Well, it depends where the liability lies. I'm not sure, you know, what losses are going to exist on the consumer side yet, because I'm not sure what's been reported.
Well, do you set up a fund for it? Does the government back you on this?
In the particular case of Target, we had no losses. We were able, through the suspicious activity analytics we ran, was to identify anybody who could be affected, instantly shut off the cards, issued new cards with.
But what if they had? In other words, what if you had, you know, several customers, hundreds of customers who might have been affected?
In a different instance where there are victims, it's a problem for us. You know,
you've always made good on it, though, both of you, right?
Absolutely.
But there's a limit to kindness.
You can. It's a law that says it used to be that the vendors absorbed the transaction, the fraudulent transaction. That was changed by law to where the banks now have to absorb the fraud.
So Target screws up, you pay it.
Target screws up, the vendor screws up, we pay it. But in the end, who pays? Who always pays? The consumer. Because if you start to take too many losses, you have to increase your fees. So that in the end, the banks can absorb so much, but it's just not fair. It's like playing who's the biggest loser.
Yeah,
the banks. Yeah. And so why should Target, or why should the vendor who wants to sell product, you know, they know that they're not going to be on the hook for anything.
Yeah, so they make a big admission, but you pay the freight.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to pay up front to put all these systems in place to mitigate the losses in the future. So it's a big
But
distraction.
neither of you are
cost.
ever shopping at Target again, I guess, but pretty much.
I refuse.
There you go. Gentlemen.
The name of the company is certainly suiting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But this hasn't been the first time
It has not been
that
the
it's
first
happened
time.
with Target.
No, it is not. No, it is not. That's a very, very good point.